Welcome to the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. This is your number one crypto podcast to hear directly from the movers and shakers, innovators, and disruptors in the cryptocurrency industry. Follow on Twitter for updates and to communicate directly at Woof Big Dawg. That's at Woof Big DAWG. Now, here is your host, the one and only Big Dawg Crypto.
And welcome to the latest episode of the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, Big Dawg Crypto. This is now the 40th episode of the podcast. And for the 40th episode, I have a very special guest, MartaVerse. How are you doing?
I'm great. What a coincidence. I'm not 48, but I'm getting close.
No, I mean,
what a number. I know, but it's just with the number. I'm absolutely honored. Super to be here. Super honored.
I appreciate you being here. You and I have interacted a lot on crypto Twitter, and I enjoy it. I always like to ask my guests when they come on, when you first got into crypto, how did you wind up getting into the space?
How did I which? Sorry?
Like when you first got into crypto, I always like to ask my guests, I'm always interested to hear, because we all found out about it, right, at different times. When you first heard about Bitcoin, do you remember what you were doing and how you wound up getting into crypto? What was it that got you into crypto?
I definitely don't remember the first time hearing about it. I think over the years, definitely crossed this in conversations. But when I actually decided to dabble in it, it was through a friend. And then it clicked in my head that I actually know another person who's doing it full time, and pretty much kind of took it from there.
Nice. And you're very active on Twitter. I see you always interact with people a lot. The markets right now, we're at this is the last couple of weeks of 2022. A lot of people look at the markets, they want excitement right now, but let's call it like it is. End of the year tends to be a little bit mellow and stuff. What are your feelings about, let's say, where the markets are right now? And particularly going into January, right? Because I think a lot of people listening and watching want to know what's going to happen in January. We don't have a crystal ball. I get that. But what would you kind of tell people your thoughts are on the markets now? And then January, what are you looking for?
Currently, if anyone that knows me has my updates on YouTube, I've done an update just on Tuesday where I basically told everybody, guys, I've no interest in the market at the minute, and I think a lot of people are feeling the same. Obviously, keeping an eye on it. However, my personal opinion right now, it's to just kind of let it do its thing. There's no direction. There's absolutely no direction. It can do anything. It can honestly nuke any minute and take us back down to $12,000, maybe $10,000. These are kind of my targets. Or if we move above the range, it has to, for me personally, break above 17, 18, and 19,000 to even consider we're doing a bit of a rally here right now. It's just a time of the years where I advocate on honesty, kind of just taking a step back. And I think there's no point really stressing over what it is doing at the minute. Very, very hard to predict. Honestly, just the economy, everything is just so tricky at the minute. It tends to react more to negative news than positive, and there have been plenty of positive. So just kind of let it do its thing.
Somebody said the other day, they said at this point, or at least this year, right, no news would be good news, because it seems like all the news that's come out has been bad. That being said, 2022, it's fair to say, not the best year for crypto. Not just the FTX collapse, which is obviously the biggest elephant in the room, but just so much stuff that's happened. For 2023, I feel like, and it's not so much are we giving people optimism, but realistically, what are you expecting? Let's say at this time next year. And once again, no crystal ball. I get that. But any optimism for 2023, or what are your thoughts?
Definitely, certainly. With technical analysis, definitely taking that into consideration. I believe that we will see a shift eventually, and 2023, possibly from second half onwards, and going into 2024, the return of bull market, it's possibly on the cards. I do personally feel as well, there's don't want to sound very negative here, but there is still possibility of another collapse, another black swan event, and something that will affect the market and the sentiment even more. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but a lot of people are thinking, what about banks? What about governments? How is this going to be played out from here on? And maybe crypto is going to be that hedge where, it's just, obviously we could argue this. A lot of people would say, no, crypto is definitely dead. It's just a Ponzi. It's just whatever. But us here, people in this space, we know how much potential there is. We know how much technology, what it means and what it can do. So I believe personally that crypto is absolutely here to stay, and eventually we're just going to see a mass. I kind of am thinking, and I don't think I'm being kind of far off, 250K for Bitcoin in future. Don't know when. Don't ask me this.
Right.
But I'm kind of thinking, there was a lot of money in the market in the last bull market, but we just haven't seen anything yet with the amount of money that is going to enter this space.
Well, that always gets to the big question that people like to ask. Do you want to guess when would be the next alt season? When would be the next real bull market?
I'm kind of swaying towards mid 2024.
Okay, and I agree with you on that. I think once the halving happens, right? We watch. And that's one thing. I mean, like we always, when you do podcasts, right? You appreciate all of your listeners and all, and all of the audience, but it means a lot, particularly the new people tuning in and watching, because I feel like when I have guests like you, right, that have experience in the space, I hope they can get something from it that helps them. Because when I got in 2017, early 17, I consumed a lot of content. Some was great, some was junk. And I feel like when you have people that have good experience, it's good for them. So I asked you some of these questions. I'm really interested to hear, for the new people, because, people that got in the space last fall, right? And let's say they bought, whether it was an alt at the price then or Bitcoin at 69, whatever it may be, and they've been sitting for a year and they're like, wow, when is it coming back? And I like to tell people, look, markets do come back, right? They go in cycles, and unfortunately bear cycles are not a lot of fun, but that's why I'm asking you specifically, because there's a lot of people that are listening and watching saying, well, is it ever? Because there's some people, we might say this is full capitulation. Oh, it's never coming back. Bitcoin will never go above 20. The alts are going to stay down. But you know what I mean? Like some, whatever. And they're like, markets never come back. And I'm like, no, we go in cycles. So I think stuff like this is important for new people to hear, just to realize that nothing lasts forever.
I mean, it's definitely worth mentioning as well, guys, that when we talk about next bull market and we're kind of giving out, I suppose here, and we're kind of, pointing at 2024, that doesn't mean it's the time to buy. It's the time when you most likely will be looking for grabbing some profits, because I think as well that a lot of people lose this meaning that, okay, when bull market comes back, so that is the time for you to come in. So my advice would be, and for people that have been here in this space and lost money and holding bags that are underwater, if you've been here last year or even a year before, or if it's your first journey, then this is amazing. It's a brilliant time for you to get in. But you've seen it when we were close to the top, how everybody was shouting for higher, higher, higher. This is exactly what happens when you hit the bottom, when you're close. People tend to go from one extreme to the other. It's just never enough. So it's just those big opposites, and the same thing's going to happen on those opposite ends. Extreme feelings, extreme fear or euphoria hits. My best advice is just to kind of take a little step back, look at everything historically, compare, take your time looking at it as well. Don't just jump into conclusions, and don't let noise affect what you're doing and what's happening. What you can do is give yourself best chance by researching, finding the best information that there is, and based on that, deciding on your investment strategy. That's probably my best advice.
I agree with you on that. And you just brought up something particularly about euphoria and when things are going down. And if you think about it, let's go to last fall, right? When Bitcoin was going up to 69 and suddenly it was in the media. Everybody loved it. It's going to 100. And what happened? It wound up getting sold off. And so on the flip side, you look at right now, to me, we are in, and I kind of believe we're in that peak capitulation time right now because, well, a couple of things. First off, the fact that we had all this negative news, Bitcoin has stayed in that 16, 17 range, whereas years ago, right, it would have dropped to 3 or 4. But we've seen it, at least for now, right, seem to have found a bottom. Like you said, it could go to 10, could go to 12, but it seems to kind of be in that. But not just that. I mean, I've got relatives, I've got people that will message me and say, oh, I've read crypto's over, it's dead, it's done. There's some people that are quitting the space. And you get to that point, right, where it's when you start hearing it's never coming back, it's kind of like, okay, that's the sign that it may be coming back. And it's emotions are emotions, right? We go through them, the market cycles. I just think it's important for everybody, right, to review history so you can see. And even though we're a 12, 13-year-old industry, so to say, you can see the direction. So particularly with that, when it comes to finding projects, people that like to go into altcoins and whatnot, there's 20,000 of them. What do you advise people that want to get into a project to look for?
So actually, as far as I'm concerned, there's way less than 20,000.
I'm pulling up coin market.
I'm just making a point. No. Sorry, Dog. I just wanted to say is, guys, this is actually what you have to realize that they were 22,000 coins at peak. I think we're looking at about 12,000 at the minute. So before you enter any of those alts, ask yourself, what is it actually doing for you as an investor, and why would you want to hold it in a year's time? So I think for anybody, whether they have experience or not, the first thing to look at is actual solution. And it could be as simple as, like we know, and I know Dog as well, Veracity, that has a solution that could potentially bring, it's just an example. That can be used worldwide in certain in a variety of industries, right?
Right.
Whether they deliver or not, it also depends on how strong the team is, how much experience there is. So there are things that like a total noob could go and check. Look at their LinkedIns, if they're actually, not anonymous, what experience they have, what are they actually bringing to the table? Can they work hard to deliver their goals? I know this space can be overwhelming in terms of jargon, in terms of technology, language, and things that you read up about blockchain, and you get totally lost. You honestly, before you go and do a lot more digging and exploring, just look at those important things. Really, for me, the main thing is, what is the solution? Do they have longevity possibility? What's the possibility of it surviving years to come? And what's the experience behind the team? Are they just, I'm not discrediting new people, but they have to have some sort of backup or partnership or some sort of where you can feel, okay, this sounds more solid than just a team that just appeared from nowhere. They could be obviously promising moon and stars to you, but then that's when you kind of go back and see who are the people behind it. Because without, I personally, that's my opinion anyway. Sorry, just to cut it short.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. And it's funny because I'm saying 20,000 based on the CMC's latest thing, but and I know there's about maybe 10 or 12,000. You said 12,000 projects. I mean, good luck from 12,000 to 20, right? Most of those might just be white papers or websites, right? So they're not really projects, but they have a listing. But I've always told people, look, you look at the early days of the internet, right? Where they had like pets.com. That's like a famous example that failed. And out of all that, you got, Google or Yahoo or whatever. And I say Yahoo, but you know what I'm saying? You got, Amazon, things that came up. So let's say of all the projects, right, maybe in a few years, the ones that actually turn into viable, not just businesses, but viable, ones that can survive, maybe a few hundred, under 1,000, 500, who knows? And I've always told people, make sure you have a team that's working, make sure that, like you said, a product has a use case and they have a viable business model. There's still not a guarantee that they're going to succeed, right? But at least that gives it a fighting chance. And so I think when people are looking at projects, I agree with you on that. I think that brings in one of the biggest things is research in the space. When I got in, like I said, I watched YouTube videos, I researched stuff, I read, some good, some bad. And I feel like now because we have got more time in the space for everybody, and there's more stuff, to go research stuff, what would you advise people? Would you say go to Twitter? Would you say go to YouTube? Would you say just Google it? What's the best way for somebody, not just about projects, right, but just to learn about areas of the space, learn about blockchain, learn about Bitcoin? What would you advise people to find out more that are new in the space?
I would have say, guys, go check probably everything that you see. Every platform, social platform. Don't stick just to one, because they tend to be bubbles, and they tend to be basically like a tunnel vision. And when you find, especially I think looking at Twitter and Instagram as well, if TikTok, I think the way algorithms work, they tend to kind of give you suggestions based on your searches. Go and expand beyond that. Go elsewhere. Look, listen to opposite views as well. Try and have a very unbiased approach. Don't approach it, above all, don't approach it emotionally. And one very, very important tip, and I hope that a lot of you will listen to this: connect with other people. Learn from other people in this space, whether they have experience or not, but learn from them and what they're saying. And obviously better to find people that have been around a little bit longer. And again, don't listen to them like a holy Bible. Just take their opinion, but surround yourself as well with people that have different interests, and they have found different information that you already succeeded to find. Compare, exchange those views and those informations. It's so invaluable, actually. That saying, and I've been repeating it for a long time, your network is your net worth, and it resonates as you keep going in the space. It will honestly bring you back a lot more value along the way when you have people that are sharing opinions with you, or searches based on facts, not just hype, not just emotions, not just getting attached to something just because. And one more thing is, we were talking there a second ago about the amount of coins. If you find a project that has done well, and you see your investment done already whatever amount of X's, never ever be afraid to take that profit off the table. Pay yourself, because in case the project was doing great the first year, 2 years, you're not sitting there on it. You're not becoming a hodler till you die. You've made money. You can move on. You can rotate that investment into something else and multiply that over and over.
Look, nobody ever went broke taking profit. I mean, that's definitely important to
Absolutely.
do. So looking at the space in, let's say, 3 to 4 to 5 years, because you look back now, and I feel like this year, despite all the negativity we had and the FTX, well, look, the one thing about the FTX collapse, as bad as it was, it certainly put crypto on the radar, right, of a lot of non-crypto people. Because you had people, like, if you thought last year when it was going up, and you had your aunt, your uncle, that never asked about it, did well. They certainly talk about it now. It's not, I hate to say, one of these bad presses.
The opposite.
It is what it is. But what would you like to see for an adoption point of view? Let's say we're in the end of 2022. Let's say in 2 to 3 to 4 years, Christmas from now, right, or end of the years, or holidays from now, what would you want to see people talking about crypto, instead of saying now, hey, we saw, it collapsed and this and that? What kind of dialogue do you hope to hear from family and friends?
Personally, I think the biggest challenge is how complicated it is to actually access it. So I would like to actually be able to talk. I went to a party not so long ago. It was before the FTX collapse, and people were looking at. They knew about crypto. They've heard about it. They've dabbled before in it, but it's still. It kind of sounds like a totally alien concept. And funny thing is, one of the guys that I spoke to, he works in IT. And he actually is a lecturer in one of the colleges. And I was kind of thinking that's interesting. He did admit, he said that the technology is fascinating for him, but it's not anything that he's really interested into exploring more or interested. So I think we're very long way away from that mass adoption. But when it happens, several years time, 3-4 years time, let's say, if we're on that road, if we're on the correct route, there's going to be already certain projects that are going to have it implemented in the way that internet is implemented right now, where I will be able to turn around and say, actually, do you know that this is based on blockchain technology? And they're going to be interested to hear it, and they're not going to be afraid to explore more. And it's going to be certainly an interesting topic to talk about.
Definitely. I can see that, and definitely hope that happens too. 2023, do you have any goals you're looking for? I mean, professionally, like when you look at the space, right? You've built a lot of content. Anything that you're like looking to particularly do, or just kind of keep doing what you're doing, or what are your thoughts for 2023 for you?
For myself personally, yes, I have big plans, big goals. This year has already been amazing. A lot of things have been happening behind the scenes for me. I kind of spent, I suppose, the year on getting to know myself as well. It has not been the case, I suppose, where I got up one morning and I said, okay, I'm going to be an influencer. I'm going to, grow my audience on Twitter. It really happened. So it happened on its own. I had to find myself in it. I had to kind of see if this is what I enjoy doing. Internet, social media is a tricky place to be, but absolutely, it's my passion. I love it. I'm really hoping to grow my own YouTube channel, bring in more educational content, bring in more interviews, projects that people can decide on themselves if they are interested in, and like this, explain basics, at least do some sort of a basic DIY for you, where you can take it from there, and like that, just really grow as a person in this space and be as much help as possible. I found that it was the people that basically when I came to crypto, I didn't think it was going to go this way, but it was the people that I stayed for, and they were so helpful, and they were amazing people. I've been so lucky. I want to repay in some way.
Very cool. Well, a couple of personal questions I always like to ask so people get to know guests a little bit better. And I ask these questions. I'm always interested because we live in a big world, and it's like crypto has really gotten to where we interact with somebody from one country to the other. You get to learn more about each other, whatnot. So I'm interested in people's view of the world. Plane stops to pick you up. You're going for the weekend to go somewhere. What country would you go to in a heartbeat?
In a heartbeat, I definitely would love to go to Florida, first of all. I heard it's crazy.
First person to say that.
I really need to go there. And I have a couple of friends that
I've been to Florida. It's fun.
Maldives is honestly, and I've been to Turkey already once, but I didn't get to visit all the places, and I certainly would love to see. I've seen just really crazy, gorgeous spots that I would love to go and discover. Oh, nice. To be fair, I'd love to see the whole world, everywhere, really, every country at least twice, just to
I'm with
see.
You on that.
Absolutely, I'd love to travel.
Travel is what's up. And what's your favorite activities when you're not doing crypto? I mean, I see, like I said, you're very active. You're on there all the time, so I know you put in a lot of work. But if your relaxation get a chance to, what do you like to do?
I definitely like to exercise, stay active. It's very important, I think, for mind and for the body. I am kind of aiming and advocating to stay forever young, at least in spirit and body. That you're not 70-year-old person who's asking for someone else to pick you up off a chair. It's fair enough if you have underlying conditions, but if you can really mind your
I agree with you. You know what? You're so right on that, because it's like we get behind our screens so much, and it's like I had one guy who said, look, well, I like to do crypto as my as not my hobby, but like, relaxation. It's like, let's be honest, we're always on it. I mean, even if we go and might go to the gym, but you're still going to check things real quick just to see. And I think it's like, you've got to make yourself get away, because like I've always said, you can buy anything but health, right? You can have all the money in the world, you can't buy your health. And so I think it's important. That's why I like people to hear this. Get away from the screen, right? Make yourself do it because you need to.
I mean, and I love nature. I absolutely, when I grew up, I'm an 80s kid. I grew up in a small sea town where you had beautiful beach, forests, and I just always loved that. I just love to come out, listen to the birds, touch the grass.
Yeah. Very cool.
And basically, I think another one that I love to do is read books. I love fantasy books. I think they're the most exciting thing, that you can just submerge yourself into just something different in your reality, and just skip away from it. Just socialize as well, like meet my friends. Just anything and everything to do with just getting out of the house and enjoying ourselves.
Makes sense. And your favorite food? What do you like to eat?
Someone asked me this recently.
No, I want to be the first one.
And I said fruit. I said fruit, and they laughed and they were like, "You're lying. It's Indian food." Because I swear, guys, I have some sort of addiction to tikka masala. Every week, if I don't have lamb tikka masala, I feel there's something missing. There's like a
no one's ever said that
running
before.
joke.
Nice. Hey, look, that's good. All right, so people want to find you. They want to reach out. What's the best way to find you? What are your socials?
Best one, I suppose, LinkedIn, most professional one, with MartaVerse. My YouTube is also MartaVerse, so is my Twitter. The only difference is Instagram, where there's Marta.verse. So be careful. This is obviously something I think everyone should be aware of, is scammers. Don't ever fall. I don't ever contact anybody in purposes of selling or trying to get you to enroll to courses, get money off you. So be mindful of that. Always verify. And my Twitter has a link in bio where all my official links are there as well. But MartaVerse, you can see.
There you go. Nice. Well, MartaVerse, I appreciate you taking the time to be on the latest episode, a very special 40th episode of the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much for having me. It was such a pleasure. Great meeting you as well and seeing you finally.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thanks.
You've been listening to the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. Follow on Twitter at WoofBigDawg. Woof, Big DAWG. And run faster than the competition. Woof, woof.